Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to MCJ Report number 163. Please go ahead and share the broadcast, get the word out there. We are independent media, and I, of course, am your host, Morgan Charles Jonas, also independent candidate for the Senate in this year's federal election. Make sure you vote Group R above the line if you want to vote for me. That is R for Revolution, so I don't think you're going to forget that. Alrighty, guys, another episode. It is Friday. We have a great weekend in store. My MCJ campaign is heading out to regional Victoria, so I'm going to show exactly where we are going. Alright, so Saturday is in tomorrow, the 30th. Hitting Mornington at 12 p.m. Mornington Park. That is a Meet the Candidates event. I will be in attendance there. Moving along the same day to Wonthaggi, 2:30 p.m. at McMahon Reserve. Moving along from there to Terralgan at 5 p.m. at Hickox Reserve. And then in Bairnsdale at 7:30 p.m. for an informal pub catch-up. That's right. So come and say g'day. Have a pint in a casual manner, and we will be attending the Old Grain store. So if you're around the Bairnsdale area, I'd love to grab a beer with you. The next day on Sunday, that's this Sunday, sale at 10 a.m. at Cullion Park. Moving on to Warragul at midday, 12 p.m. at Eastern Park. And then finishing up Fountain Gate at 2 p.m. featuring a great friend of mine, Pastor Paul, an incredible human being and a great, brave leader who will be in attendance with his travelling band. That's right. So we're so very delighted to join forces with Pastor Paul. That will be opposite the cinemas near Bunjil Place at Fountain Gate. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are receiving this broadcast, I hope to see you over the weekend. All right, now, let's get this show on the road, shall we, ladies and gentlemen? What do we have first up? Okay, so more disgraceful news here in Victoria. This government under Daniel Andrews is causing so much heartbreak and destruction every single day. Another 2,500 or more, I should say, actually over, Victorian teachers fired for refusing the third jab. The pain is never ending under this guy. We have to get rid of him in November. This is, of course, a hugely inhumane injustice. Now, when we're looking at these teachers here, it's important to point out that they went ahead and they took the first two jabs. They quite possibly did not want to be taking those jabs, and now they've put their foot down and they've said, no, three is too much. So why do you think that might be, ladies and gentlemen? Do you think they're just sick of taking these jabs, or could it be something else? Now, I spoke to a friend of mine. He works in the public sector. I won't say exactly which sector. He took the first two jabs and experienced an adverse reaction each time in relation to his heart. Now, recently, he had COVID. Now, maybe you've heard similar stories, and thought he could get an exemption, but his workplace has actually declined to give him one. So despite experiencing adverse reactions and actually having a exemption due to having COVID, he's in a position now where he's forced to either get a third jab or leave his job. So he's actually leaving now. He wasn't keen on the first two. So this has just gone completely out of control, ladies and gentlemen. This government must be replaced this November. Otherwise, I truly fear for the future of our state. And I'd like to express my solidarity with all the teachers out there who have made this decision. I know it must be incredibly painful. And please stay strong, and together we must stand united to defeat this evil. All right, and never forget, this is the guy. This is the guy. All right, now, here's something that you might be aware of. Watch out for these independents. Now, I use the term independents in inverted commas because I don't truly consider them independents. If a person is running for politics and they are backed by an organization that takes in millions of dollars and spends millions of dollars on their candidates in order to advance a certain agenda, or should I say candidates that they've endorsed, is the candidate in question actually an independent, or do you think they should be referred to as something else? So what I'm going to talk to you about in this segment are these climate independence. Now, they're backed by an organization called Climate 200 that takes in millions of dollars in donations in order to prop up candidates that they think would best serve their, vision for Australia inside of the parliament. So these types of independents should not be confused with somebody such as myself. I'm running a true grassroots campaign comprised of a handful of small donations from the public. And also we have another Freedom candidate out there running in the Senate, Damien Richardson, who I'm recommending that you put as your number 2 if you're putting me as your number 1. He's in the same shoes. He doesn't have some big corporation fishing out $1 million for his campaign. So why these people? Well, let's take a bit of a look at this organization, shall we? Climate 200. Alrighty, so what do we have here? Just give me a second. It will come up in just a moment. All right, so Climate 200, there we go. Who are they and what do they do? Basically an organization that is fighting against the climate, and we have a big list of donors right here of people that contribute to this organization. So this is pretty interesting. Let me show you, and you're going to have to use your imagination to come up with a figure in which you think would be in the vicinity of how much this organization is taking in, because it's not really clear. Have a look at this. Our donors, Climate 200, while all donors giving above the disclosure threshold of $14,500 in the 2022 financial year will be disclosed in accordance with AEC regulations, the majority of our donors have agreed to share their identity many months early. All right, so see these names in yellow? These are all people who have given more than $14,500 to this organization called Climate 200. Look at them. I'm going to scroll. Is this going to end soon? I actually thought that was never going to end. So all those names there giving over 14.5 grand. And so what is this organization trying to achieve? They say, while we actively encourage all donors to disclose their donations, some will simply wish to meet legal requirements, and that's what they've said at the bottom. And I mean, this is crazy. Look at this. I'm struggling to navigate around this page. You've got some pretty hefty donors right here putting out challenges to match donations. We've got one here, $500,000, Friends of Akuna, $225,000, election mega match. Canberra for Climate 200, $48,381 matched. The Milgram family matching challenge matched $500,000 of donations. Nick and Sandra, $100,000. I mean, this is an absolute cash cow. They've got millions of dollars coming in here. So let's take a bit of a look over here. Look at this. This was an article published here in the Guardian. Coalition scrimps on MPs as Climate 200 backed independents outspend them in key seats. All right, it's pretty interesting. Outspending some of the Libs. Liberal MPs labels Teal Independent's digital advertising outlay immoral as it surpasses parties' candidates by tens of thousands of dollars. All right, so Liberal Party labeling anyone is immoral. I mean, that's a pretty questionable, don't you think? But anyway, let's have a look here. All right, so we have some estimates for digital spending by Liberal Party and these climate independents backed by Climate 200. So in the seat of Kooyong, the estimate here for the so-called independent candidate, 170 grand compared to the sitting member, which is Josh Frydenberg at 141. So pretty interesting little graph there. Here's another interesting segment. The Liberal MP Jason Falinski, who is being challenged in his Northern Beaches seat of Mackellar by Climate 200 backed Sophie Scamps, said the amount being spent is immoral. Okay, I mean you got to laugh whenever you see these sort of people throwing around the term immoral. It is expected that Scamps will spend more than $1 million trying to win the seat with a combination of traditional and digital advertising. I mean, wouldn't that be nice for our MCJ independent campaign if we had $1 million backing our efforts to get into the Senate, standing up for freedom and people's right to choose whether or not they want to take a certain drug? So it's crazy. So here are the candidates right here, some people that you might want to look out for. Now, I'm just going to run through the candidates and sitting members who are in Victoria, but wherever you are in Australia, please take some time, go to climate200.com.au, find out who these people are in order to make sure that you are not by accident voting for a fake independent. Yeah, that's right, I'm going to say it. It's fake. When you got millions of dollars behind you, it is just absolutely wrong and deceptive to be parading around acting as if you're running some type of grassroots campaign. I'm calling absolute BS. All right, so what do we have here? The Victorian electorate of Wannon. We've got this guy, Alex Dyson. So heads up to anyone in Wannon. Independent candidate for Casey, Claire Ferris Mills. All right, there she is, looking very happy about things. Despi O'Connor, challenging down in the seat of Flinders. And wow, I can tell you that Climate 200 is putting a pretty large amount of funds behind Despi O'Connor, getting all sorts of interesting advertising campaigns running around. We've got a independent candidate for Kooyong, a Dr. Monique Ryan. We've got a member here for Indy, Helen Haynes. My goodness. Zoe Daniel, right? Independent candidate, challenging Tim Wilson for the seat of Goldstein. I was actually driving down North Road the other day and I thought, wow, Zoe Daniel, how did you find all this money for these huge electronic billboards? No, Climate 200. Climate 200 funding these people, and I think it's very important that you take note. So it says here that Climate 200 wishes all pro-climate, pro-integrity and pro-gender equality independent candidates all the best as they look forward to supporting more in the next federal election. All right, so I think this is really stretching the term independent. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Should these people be able to hold the title of independent, or should they hold some other title, such as maybe bought and paid for by Climate 200? What do you think? That's just a suggestion. Don't shoot the messenger. Anyway, put your thoughts in the comments. And which actually takes us to our next section here, which is the Senate ballot paper must be revised. Alrighty, so why am I saying this, ladies and gentlemen? Well, the Senate ticket is set up in a way to most definitely benefit the major parties. Now, I'd like to illustrate my point. If we look back here to 1901, the Senate ballot paper, what do you see? You see a list of names, right? So you do not see any political parties, any political brand names or logos. It's just a list of names. So what does that mean? And why do I think this is a more honest way to conduct the election in the Senate? Well, without the branding of a political party, or let's say the backing of a multi-million-dollar organization such as Climate 200, independents that are listed on the ballot in this manner must really demonstrate their merit to the public in order to get elected. They must show who they are and what they stand for. And that is actually the contrary of the system of democracy that we currently have in Australia, whereby election in, election out, we see candidates running for major parties, hiding behind a party brand name, getting elected, despite the general public actually knowing nothing about who that particular person is or what they stand for. And what's the result of that? We're left with an abundance of people in office who are incompetent. I don't think they love this country. They certainly do not demonstrate that their allegiance is to this country, instead demonstrating allegiance to their party. So what do you think, ladies and gentlemen? I would actually like to see some changes in our voting system whereby our Senate ticket looks like this again, and so that people like me who are running as an independent for the Senate can get out there and actually contest in a more level playing field. What do you think? As it stands at the moment, if you want to vote for me, this is what it looks like. All right, so Group R That's my group there. You put a 1 in that box and you'll see that below the line, there's my name there, Morgan Jonas. Now, notice how unfair this is. You've got all the parties, right? They get a logo, they get their party name printed below, and their party name printed once again below the line. Look at me. I don't get anything here, and there's another independent group there as well. No logo, no name, and again, no name printed below the line. Why can't there be, for instance, Morgan C. Jonas Independent Senate Team printed directly below the box in the Group R? And why can't that name be printed again below the line? Are they trying to save money? It's just a little bit more ink, and it would certainly even the playing field. It's, as you can see, it's so easy to go past, but I think the system needs major changes. That's why we're running our campaign the way that we are, because it's clearly rigged in a way that keeps the major parties getting elected time and time again. And if we want any chance of taking our country back, we're going to have to really address this issue. All right, ladies and gentlemen, what do we have here? What do we have? Neil Mitchell. That's right. So some of you may have caught my so-called conversation with Neil Mitchell the other day, and I have to say conversation in inverted commas because I really don't know what that was. I mean, I know that Neil Mitchell is unkind at the best of times, so I certainly wasn't expecting a fair shake, but I have to say that I was actually shocked by how low that he was willing to go in that interview in order to try to get me off guard. It was just actually quite disgraceful, but just further reinforced how much of a bully this man is and how he tries to railroad people. And I think he's gotten away with it for too long. But everybody I speak to, they're telling me the same thing. They say, no, I turned that guy off years ago. So I think that he's going to just fade away into oblivion. But in the meantime, let's have a bit of fun with this and let's break down the so-called interview that was conducted. So I'm going to play it and I'm going to pause it so I can come in and comment, because of course Neil Mitchell, he doesn't let you finish. He's got a louder microphone, it's more clear. He just loves to talk over people, accuse people of this and that and not answering questions, whereas actually he's the one that's choosing not to listen, and he's the one that is interrupting and actually preventing people, and in this case me, from answering questions. All right, so let's have a look, and I'm gonna give my commentary on this guy. I mean, Neil Mitchell, what a joke. What a joke, unbelievable.
Now, I've been taking calls all morning from people who want to vote independent. Wackos and fringe dwellers.
All right, so before I even got on the call, he's calling me a wacko and a fringe dweller. Now, in what crazy backwoods world can you insult somebody before you speak to them and then expect that person to be courteous towards you? I mean, to me, that is just self-entitlement and arrogance. What do you reckon, ladies and gentlemen?
I call the independents. But they're going to be powerful wackos and fringe dwellers. I don't know why you want to vote for them. I think I know. I think it's sheer frustration with the major parties. But the news poll today in the Australian shows that 27% of the voters could be voting for independents or minor parties. That puts them in an extraordinarily powerful position, because if Labor or Liberal are going to form government, then they're going to have to rely on some of these independents who will have a huge say in what goes on, well above their pay grade, in the sense that they're...
And what about Neil Mitchell's pay grade? What's that based on? Insulting guests, poking fun at people that lost their jobs during lockdowns, and he claims that he didn't, but hey, I've got some other footage which clearly shows that he did. I'll play that to you in a few minutes.
Independents perhaps running on a particular topic, and then suddenly they'll be effectively a member of cabinet saying tick, cross, yes, you can do that. On the line, Morgan Jonas is running as an independent senator for Victoria. Morgan Jonas, good morning.
G'day, Neil. How come you're calling all these independents wackos?
Because
not very nice.
No, it's not nice.
What makes you say that? What about the major parties, mate? Look what they've done.
What did Neil say? Because most of them are. Has he spoken to most of them? I mean, come on.
To this country, I reckon they're the wackos.
Yeah, there's a bit of truth in that too. But tell me, what's your platform?
All right, rightio. So I'm running as an independent for the Senate. I think Australia needs more independent voices, especially in the House of Review. All right, so we're talking about farming. We want to save our farms. We've lost a lot of farms over the past 15 years in Victoria, as you're probably aware. We're running on manufacturing. We used to be a great manufacturing country. We want that back. We also consider the government is too big and involved in too many areas of our lives. We're sick and tired of the woke agendas, especially in classrooms, and we're absolutely sick and tired of the jab mandates. We want them banned. We want them outlawed.
Well, they're just about gone anyway. Okay, how are you going to say?
So Neil said, what did he say after I said jab mandates? I think he heard, well, they're just about gone. I mean, what world is this man living in? We've just had 2,500 teachers dismissed in Victoria for refusing the third jab, and Neil wants to mutter something under his breath about the jab mandates, or they're nearly gone, or something like that. I mean, it's just crazy, isn't it?
So farms.
All right, rightio. So farmers haven't been given a voice. So I've been consulting with a lot of farms from all around regional Victoria. They're all telling me the same thing. The result of government policy has caused a major exodus of small and family-owned farms. Over-regulation, over-taxation, there needs to be a massive spotlight
So what are you going to do?
shined on that.
So there you go, Neil interrupting me. Now, when I answer questions, and a lot of people do the same thing, I find it effective to first put the question in context and then provide a follow-up based on the context. But of course, Neil Mitchell, he loves to try and railroad people, get you off your train of thought. So that's what he was doing.
What are you going to do?
And also
You tell me what's wrong. What are you going to do?
And also a question like that, what are you going to do? I think Neil Mitchell needs a bit of a lesson on the Senate being the House of Review, where legislation is either passed, rejected, amended, and major public inquiries are raised. So I think he might be a little bit confused about that as well.
Okay, so rightio. As you're probably aware, unless we can hold a balance of power in the Senate with like-minded people, we can't do anything. Okay, so first thing, we need good...
And there you go, the rude prick just laughing as I'm trying to explain my position. It's just disgusting, really.
Independents and people who are on the side of freedom standing up for business in the Senate, so that we can put pressure on the White House to actually pass legislation that gives them a hand up. We want to see them with tax exemptions. We want to see them being able to access viable water. And if we're unable to make that balance of power, then I'll just keep shouting it from the rooftops and give as many people a voice who have been affected by this.
How much, what sort of tax exemption would you give them? What would that cost?
Righty.
All right, so a better question to be asking is how much can potentially be made from a tax exemption. All right, so let's talk about this tax exemption that I mentioned there. So first of all, tax exemptions are not unheard of. In recent times, the mainstream media received a hefty tax exemption, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. There's also foreign mining corporations that are receiving years upon years on end of royalty exemptions. So I don't think that proposing a tax exemption, especially for distressed farms, is something that is crazy or out of the ordinary. So what could this result in? So what could it result in if farmers were able to keep more of what they earn? Yes, the government will, in the short term, take in less revenue in that area, but what is there to potentially gain? That's what I'd like to look at. So it could result in more productivity for certain farms, more jobs, and what effect does that have? More production, hopefully increases to the local economy that could have an on-flow effect of benefiting local businesses and boosting overall employment, that type of thing. And what happens when employment is boosted in a place where otherwise employment had been severely scaled back? Well, it could help with a range of factors. What does unemployment cause? It causes crime, drug use. There's a lot of towns in Victoria that have been absolutely plagued with crime and drug use after many farms have been run out of business. And that in itself could pose a saving to the government. Okay, less money spent on potentially welfare, police services, housing, that type of stuff. Ideally, what we'd love to see, of course, is farms in a position where they can produce more than what they need for domestic supply in order to create export opportunities. Okay, so I personally think there's a lot more to be gained by giving exemptions to distressed farms than there is just writing it off altogether. And for anyone concerned that it may affect revenue to the government, I posed the question: how much money has the government wasted over the past 2 years? How much funds have been allocated to the so-called pandemic response that were justified? what we truly need in this country, and now I don't have a magic wand, and keep in mind, I'm not running to become the emperor of Australia and to rule with an iron fist, all right? I'm running for one seat in the Senate. What I'd love to see is a top to bottom audit of all government departments in this country. I would love to play a role in identifying duplicate departments and wasteful spendings. Examining different grants. So when the government announces that we are investing $2 billion in Project A, what percentage of those funds are going to consultants and layers of needless bureaucracy? Okay, so I think that it would be pretty easy to examine the government's books in order to work out some type of solution to offset a tax exemption for distressed Victorian farms. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Put your thoughts in the comments and let's keep rolling.
Yeah, so they need a hefty exemption, maybe for years on end. These are our primary producers.
How much?
Okay. Well, the thing is, in order to allow them to get back, I think they should have a tax exemption for maybe 5 years. Let them get back on track. They've been hit so hard by COVID. Okay, and if you look at the spending of the government, it's absolutely disgusting.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so 5 years was a suggestion, but I am consulting with people currently, as I tried to explain to that guy Neil, in order to find out what would best suit people in that industry. You see, what really bothers me about politicians is they try to, I suppose, create the illusion that they know what certain people need in certain industries. So you'll have politicians, say in this instance, representing the farming industry, pretending that they know what farmers need. Actually, they don't. Actually, the vast majority of them are out of touch. Sure, they might walk around wearing a checkered shirt and pretend to be a person of the land, but you do a little bit of digging and you find out a lot of these politicians are just a part of the problem, owning huge amounts of water rights and really not representing our primary producers at all.
Politician already, just ignoring the question. You're just like a politician already. You're ignoring the question.
How much money the government is wasting.
Okay, so what I'm trying to explain to Neil, but he keeps interrupting me, is the government wastes a tremendous amount of our tax money. But of course, he kept interrupting me and didn't really give me a chance to finish. So I hope that I'm able to put this part into a bit of context for you at home.
We're spending $45 million a year on these lifetime pensions of these former MPs that are running around the country. They're taking first-class, business-class trips, 40 trips a year.
That's been changed.
Neil reckons it's been changed. Neil, you need to go and do your homework. There's still people on it, buddy. Just go and look it up.
Oh, yes, they are, mate. Have you ever looked at the Life Gold Pass? You aware of what that is?
It's changed. It has changed. Now, tell me, though, answer the question.
It's in place. There's a lot of people still using this so-called Life Gold Pass to just travel around the country first in business class, and I mean former MPs, and they're laughing in our faces. How about we slash that? That's a good place to start, right? Get rid of the pension scheme for former MPs, which is this year alone about $45 million. Get rid of the Life Gold Pass. Get rid of the so-called office expenses for these former prime ministers. And let's invest that money back into our country. What do you reckon? Who here thinks that's a good place to start? It's not enough, but it is a start.
Answer.
No, mate. You need to do your research. There's people still on it. And this is what Australians have had an absolute gutful of.
Will you answer the
question?
They've had an
absolute gutful. The government's wasting all of this money, and they're allowing our primary producers to go down the drain.
You're wasting our time unless you answer some questions.
No, I'm not.
Wasting our time. He kept me on for about 6 minutes.
I'm not wasting anyone's time. People want to hear from independents, Neil. Okay?
Not if they talk this sort of garbage. Answer the question. The tax exemption
what do you mean
for
garbage,
farmers...
mate? What do you mean garbage? I mean, you're the bloke that has been attacking people for protesting during lockdowns. You've been on a nice...
were you one of the protesters?
Of course I've been a protester. Where were you during lockdown? On a nice big income, not affected at all.
Yeah, I was lucky.
Poking fun at people who had lost their jobs.
Well, I wasn't poking fun at anybody. Were you at...
All right. Neil says he wasn't poking fun at anyone. I'm going to keep playing here because he kept trying to defend himself. And then I'm going to show you a clip of Neil, some remarks he made against protesters during lockdowns.
They're urinating on the shrine.
No, you were.
Were you urinating on the shrine?
All right, so I was actually shocked when he said this. I mean, I know this guy is unkind, but I didn't think that he would go that low. So, first of all, I don't believe there's any evidence that a human urinated on the shrine. I have not seen any evidence of that. I have seen some imagery to suggest that a horse urinated near the shrine. Okay, so I think Neil here is just really clutching at straws and showing his true characters, just absolutely going into the gutter in the most disrespectful way possible for the sole objective of trying to railroad me and to get me off my train of thought. It's a very cheap tactic, and I guess I probably shouldn't have been shocked, but he's really showing his true colours, if you ask me.
What? Is there any proof that a protester urinated on the shrine, or are you just making stuff up?
No, a lot of people saw it first.
Oh, there's his evidence. Oh, a lot of people saw it. Where's your evidence, Neil? Oh, a lot of people saw it. Yeah, great reference.
But what evidence do you have? If you're going to make an accusation like that, back it up.
Were you there?
I've been protesting throughout this entire time in Victoria.
Did you protest
through
at
all
the
the stage
shrine?
4 lockdowns. Sorry?
Did you protest at the shrine?
I've been at the shrine during protests.
What does that mean?
Did you protest the lockdowns?
No, I didn't. Did you protest?
No, of course you wouldn't, because your income hasn't been affected. Nice six-figure income. It's easy to poke fun at people who've lost their jobs when you're sitting pretty.
Look, you can abuse me as much as you...
So, all of a sudden, Neil Mitchell's the victim. You can abuse me as much as you want. I mean, he's calling people wackos and fringe dwellers before they even come on the show. He railroads people, made this disgusting remark about urinating on the shrine, and apparently he's the victim. He's the one getting abused. Oh, poor Neil Mitchell, huh? Poor Neil Mitchell, whose income was not affected during the lockdown. He stayed on a nice income. I'm sure it's very healthy. And he was able to sit in a comfy room berating people who were protesting the lockdowns, people who had lost their jobs, people who had lost everything. That is the definition of elitism.
You like, but I have not...
Oh, well, you abuse people every day, Neil, so it's about time someone gave it back to you.
I have not poked fun at people who lose their jobs.
And Australians need a bit...
All right. I have not poked fun at people who have lost their jobs. All right, you know what? My terminology maybe was not severe enough. Poked fun or straight out abused. Anyway, I'm going to show you a clip here of this guy... Neil Mitchell. Like, I actually struggle to say his name without laughing. It's just, I mean, look at this guy. He's just a joke. I mean, all right. So this is from the 20th of September 2021. All right. What do we? This was after the Richmond protest. Who was at the Richmond protest? Right when Victoria Police pushed an elderly lady to the ground, her head smashed against the concrete.
This police versus protesters brought the weekend. It was ugly.
Police versus protesters. See, the terminology is off straight away. First of all, protesting is a human right, and people who have been protesting the lockdowns have been protesting as a means of standing up for their rights and expressing strong opposition against government policy that has destroyed an unthinkable amount of lives and businesses in Victoria. But according to Neil, it's just protesters versus police, like it's some sort of video game.
And it undermines trust in police and shows, I think we'll have feral protesters there, right?
Okay, so he just referred to protesters as feral. Again, people who have lost their jobs, people who have lost everything. So Neil says, no, I didn't poke fun at protesters. Oh, I just called them feral. Anyway, I'll keep playing here.
Through this, we've got to deal with them, we've got to do it better. It's unacceptable to have police in hospital like this. It's unacceptable to have them...
Well, Neil, is it unacceptable for Victoria Police to use their pepper spray indiscriminately? Is it unacceptable for Victoria Police to misuse their semi-automatic rifles, firing what they refer to as non-lethal rounds? And I have to say, some of these rounds could certainly kill if they hit in the wrong spot. So it's interesting to see how one-sided this guy is. It raises a few questions, don't you think?
Tied up. There were bad images for police too. The old woman knocked to the ground. While on the ground, she sprayed with pepper spray to the face. I mean, how was she a threat? She was breaking the law. She might have been giving them lip, but she didn't seem a threat to anybody to be sprayed in the face.
What law was she breaking? How is it a offence to walk down the street with a group of people? See, this is what I can't get past.
Photographer being rushed by police. I'll speak to him in a moment. Look, some police in a situation like this get a rush of blood and do stupid things.
Oh, only some police. Well, clearly Neil Mitchell has never been out at these types of protests. It's not some police. When it's a stage 4 lockdown, it is all the police out there on the job on the day, and I can speak from experience.
Protesters do it more often because they're out to cause trouble.
Okay, so there you go. Protesters out to cause trouble. Poking fun, undermining people who have lost their jobs. But Neil Mitchell says, no, I'd never poke fun at people that lost their jobs. I mean, what an absolute fraudster this guy is. I'll keep playing.
But have a look at the photo of some idiot with a child on his shoulders. That is obscene. The Child Welfare Authority should be talking to that family. Take a little, 4-year-old little girl.
So a man with his child is the idiot, yet Victoria Police spraying the pepper spray, they're okay, they're in the clear. Or the lockdown, which was based on the advice of... Who was the advice based on for the lockdown? What was the science behind the lockdown? Neil Mitchell should be targeting the Victorian state government, not simply civilians who are out there.
Into the firing line for OC spray. Idiot.
No, Neil Mitchell, you should be questioning why was there a firing line set up by Victoria Police in the first place. That is what should be challenged here, not whether or not a man was with his child. I mean...
Have a look at the lunatic photographs of them attacking and screaming people. Both sides...
Oh, so he's called them lunatics?
...lost their cool.
Both sides lost their cool. Well, I tell you what, if protesters were simply left to march in the streets out in the fresh air, there would never be any type of clashes between police and protesters. It was always the police that intervened in the democratic right of the protesters to express their opposition to undue government policy. All right, so that's where it is, and that's where it stays.
But some did, and it's a bad look. I've covered a lot of demos over the years, going back to the Springboks in the 70s. I've seen police attacked. I've seen police attack protesters. I've seen police attack the media. The point is we need better tactics here. In New South Wales, they had 20 arrests. Why?
Better tactics. Better tactics to round up all those pesky people who lost their jobs, that lost everything, who were standing up against the government. Yeah, better tactics to hurt them. What an elitist. I mean...
Are they less feral in New South Wales?
There you go. Are they less feral? So this man is an absolute piece of garbage, okay? And this is all the proof that you really need. All right, anyway, where are we? Let's go back. All right.
Bit of fire, you know? They're sick of the major parties. They're sick of the one-side mainstream media. And we need an independent oversight body to hold...
Oh, Neil's still going, I would never poke fun at people that lost their job. I'd just drag them through the mud and call them the most insulting names in the world, such as feral, out to cause trouble. I'd call them idiots, but I'd never poke fun at them.
The mainstream media
Let's get back to that question then. Are you telling me that farmers would be exempt from tax for 5 years? Is that it?
You see how he phrases his question? Are you telling me they would be? No, here's the whole problem here. Politicians that make promises, politicians that say, well, you would get A, B, and C if I'm elected, that's all types of wrong. I'm not running this campaign to make empty promises to anyone. Running for the Senate, the House of Review, where legislation can be approved or declined, what is most important is that people know exactly what I stand for. So the whole premise of Neil Mitchell's question, would farmers have this, it's completely wrong. I refuse to be backed into a corner and put in a position to make some sort of false promise. I'll never do it. One of the saddest things in life are broken promises, and I think we all know how that feels. All right, so Labor, Liberal, whoever, they can go and make all the false, fake promises in the world. You're never going to get that from me.
No, I'm not making any promises, because here's the thing, Australians are sick of promises. You've got the major...
And he laughs at me because I don't want to make a false promise. All the best I can do, again, this is what I stand for and this is what I'm willing to do. Consult with people who are affected. Try and form alliances within the Senate if I am lucky enough, fortunate enough, I should say, to be elected. Reach out to good people in the Senate, such as Gerard Rennick. I mean, Neil's just got it all wrong here.
Your party's saying, we'll do this, we'll do that, and half the time they don't even intend on coming through on those promises. It's just a campaign talking point.
But how do we know what we're voting for?
How do we know what we're voting for? I've explained to him. Oh, my goodness. He's not listening. He's so flustered at this point that he literally can't even hear the words coming out of my mouth. It's just in his brain, just like, I'm angry now. Let's ask him if he urinated on the shrine. Let's berate protesters. Let's lie and say that, he never poked fun at protesters and people that lost their jobs.
My campaign is not based on empty promises. My campaign is based on telling Australians exactly what
And he's just sighing. He's like, oh, we don't want to hear that. We want to hear empty promises.
I stand for.
You're not doing that. But you're not doing
He's telling... He's just not listening.
that, Morgan. You're not telling us what
if they vote for me.
You are not telling us what you stand for because you're not answering basic questions.
I am answering questions. You're just choosing not to listen.
Answer the question on tax exemptions then. Who will be exempt for how long and at what level?
Well, that's the thing. We need to consult with the farmers and find out what would best suit them.
So we don't know.
Okay.
We don't know.
Okay, so look at this. He's asking me for answers. I said we must consult with farmers to find out what best suits them, right? In replacement of these politicians who seem to think that they know what's best for farmers. They don't. A lot of these people who claim to stand up for farming, you look into them, a lot of them have water holdings. A lot of them own water rights. So I don't understand how that is not answering the question. Politicians need to consult with people from the community more, and they need to actually venture outside of their little circles, okay? It's the people who are supposed to be served. So I have been speaking to several people from the farming industry, from regional Victoria, and we're talking about the problems. One of the major problems is, of course, the trading of water. So trading outside of the farming community that allows the corporates to essentially buy up huge amounts of water when it's cheap, wait for a drought, hike the price up, sell it back to the farmers. And of course, this has resulted in a tremendous amount of farms going out of business. Now, that's just one issue right there. And then, of course, we look at the issue of water flow and the mismanagement of water and water policy being orchestrated by people who in government who have no idea about land or water management, ignoring people who work on the land that do have an idea, and instead we see the government imposing these pseudo-environmentalist policies that have severely hurt and damaged our farming sector. So, yes, we must consult with people who are working within their own field of expertise in order to come up with solutions. It's not up to politicians to take the position of stating that they know what's best for everyone, because, believe me, they don't. And Neil Mitchell is just too blind to understand that very basic concept.
Righto. We don't know.
Well,
we
don't
don't know. No, you don't know. You haven't answered.
I'm actually answering your questions. You're choosing not to listen. You see, you're used to railroading people, Neil. Okay, the old guard's out. Australia is turning towards independent media now, and platforms like yours, they're going to be phased out.
Is that it?
Yeah.
You finished? Thank you very much for talking. No, I think you're talking... I think you're just a smart-ass talking garbage, to be frank, and the people who vote for you are as silly as you are, Morgan. Thank you.
All right, so apparently I'm a smart-ass talking garbage. I'm talking about I want to stand up for our farmers. I mean, I'm talking about I want people to have a choice whether or not they take the jab, I even mentioned manufacturing. I'm talking about we must consult with our with local people in the agricultural sector to find out what would best suit them for in terms of improving the state of business affairs in their arena. And what did he call me? What did he say again?
Yeah.
Finished?
He was silent for a long time.
Thank you very much for talking. No, I think you're talking. I think you're just a smart ass.
Just a smart ass, right? Okay. All right. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, ladies and gentlemen. Anyway, that just about takes us to the end of the show. As many of you know, I'm running as an independent for the Senate. If you'd like to get on board with our campaign, I can tell you it is a unique campaign to the likes of which the country has never seen before. So morgancjonas.com. This is legitimately grassroots. This is not a fake independent campaign. We don't have any big backers pulling our strings. All right. So obviously I'm not part of a political party. I don't have anyone telling me what to do. My mission is really simple, and that is to represent you. So go ahead and put your details in morgancjonas.com. And this weekend, that's right, we are hitting regional Victoria. So on Saturday, Mornington, Wonthaggi, Traralgon and Bairnsdale. Sunday, Sale, Warrigal and Fountain Gate, where we will be joined by the great Pastor Paul and his travelling band. This event poster I've posted up on my Facebook, so go and check it out. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. I'll see you out there. Take care. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to support my independent campaign for the Senate, the best way you can do so is registering your details at morgancjonas.com and staying up to date with our movements.
Authorised by Morgan Charles Jonas, Independent for the Senate, Melbourne.